The massive space station floating in the void looked like a metal city among the stars. Inside its gleaming halls, representatives from dozens of alien species gathered for what they called the Great Hunt Council. Captain Jake Morrison stood near a large viewing window, watching ships from across the galaxy dock at the station. His uniform bore the simple blue and white colors of Earth's Space Command, and compared to the elaborate armor and decorations of the other species, he looked almost plain. Commander Vextar of the Zephyrian Empire approached Jake with heavy footsteps. The alien stood nearly 8 feet tall, covered in natural armor plates that gleamed like black metal. Sharp claws extended from his fingers, and his yellow eyes held the confident look of a creature that had never met its match. Behind him walked several other Zephyrians, each one built like a living weapon designed for hunting and killing. "So these are the famous humans we have heard so much about," Vextar said, his voice carrying a tone that suggested he was not impressed. "Your species joined our galactic community only 3 years ago, yet you claim to be hunters. Tell me, human, where are your claws? Where are your fangs? How do you kill your prey without proper weapons?" Jake looked up at the towering alien and smiled in a way that showed no fear. "We use what we have, Commander. It seems to work well enough for us." Dr. Lisa Campbell joined them, carrying a datapad filled with information about their target. She was a small woman with brown hair and calm eyes, but she moved with the quiet confidence of someone who had spent years studying dangerous creatures. The aliens around her barely noticed her presence, dismissing her as another weak human. "The briefing is about to begin," Lisa said to Jake. "The council wants to show us what real hunting looks like." The group moved toward a large chamber where holographic displays showed images of their target. The creature that appeared before them was something out of nightmares. The Void Stalker stretched over 200 meters in length, its body covered in natural stealth plating that could bend light around it. Razor-sharp appendages lined its sides, and its mouth could swallow a small ship whole. The creature had been attacking trade routes for months, destroying entire convoys and vanishing without a trace. Admiral Krextos of the Hegemony Council stepped forward to address the assembled hunters. His species looked like walking rocks with glowing crystals for eyes, and his voice rumbled like an avalanche when he spoke. "This beast has made fools of our greatest hunting fleets. The Zephyrians have tried to catch it 7 times and failed. The Veltar pack hunters lost 3 ships to its attacks. Even the machine hunters of the Synthetic Coalition could not track it through the void." The hologram showed the creature's last known position in the Kepler Nebula, a region of space filled with gas clouds and electromagnetic storms that made scanning difficult. Vextar stood proudly as he outlined his plan for the hunt. His species would use their traditional pack tactics, surrounding the creature with fast attack ships and overwhelming it with superior numbers and firepower. "The humans will observe from a safe distance," Vextar announced with obvious pleasure. "This will be educational for them. They can learn how true predators conduct a proper hunt." Lieutenant Commander Alex Harper raised his hand from where he sat with the human delegation. He was a quiet man who had spent most of the briefing taking notes and studying the tactical displays. "Commander Vextar, have you considered that the creature might be using your own hunting instincts against you?" The Zephyrian commander's eyes flashed with anger. "What do you mean by that, human?" Alex stood up slowly, his movements careful and measured. "Every hunting attempt has followed the same pattern. Fast approach, aggressive tactics, overwhelming force. The creature has learned to expect this. It knows how galactic hunters think because they all think the same way." A ripple of laughter went through the alien observers. The idea that humans with their soft skin and small teeth could understand hunting better than species that had evolved as apex predators struck them as amusing. Vexitar's claws extended slightly as he struggled to control his temper. "And what would your species do differently?" he asked with barely controlled rage. Alex looked around the chamber at all the assembled aliens, their confident faces and predatory builds. "We would hunt it the way our ancestors hunted mammoth on the plains of Earth, not with speed or strength, but with patience and persistence." The chamber fell silent for a moment before erupting in more laughter. The concept seemed absurd to creatures that had evolved to kill with fang and claw. Chief Tactical Officer Ryan Brooks stood up beside Alex, his calm expression never changing despite the mockery around them. "Commander Vextar," Ryan said in a steady voice, "would you be willing to make this interesting? If your methods fail to capture the creature within 48 hours, perhaps you would allow us to try our approach." Vextar's armor plates shifted as his body tensed with excitement. The chance to humiliate the upstart humans in front of the entire galactic community was too good to pass up. Agreed, human. When we succeed, your species will acknowledge the superiority of Zephyrian hunting methods. When you fail, Earth will provide tribute ships to our empire for the next 10 cycles. Jake stepped forward and extended his hand toward the alien commander. Deal. But when we succeed, the galactic community will recognize that there are different ways to hunt, and that humanity has something valuable to contribute. Vextar looked down at the offered hand with disgust, but eventually grasped it with one massive claw. The grip was meant to intimidate, to show the fragile human how easily he could be crushed. Jake never flinched, never showed pain, just maintained steady eye contact until the alien released him. Dr. Campbell watched the exchange with interest, already making notes about alien behavior patterns and psychological profiles. She had spent years studying how different species approached problems, and she was beginning to see patterns that the others missed. The galaxy's greatest hunters all shared the same weakness. They thought like predators, not like humans. Navigation Officer Katie Walsh checked her chronometer and nodded to Jake. The fleet is ready for departure, Captain. All ships report systems green, and crews prepared for extended operations. As the various hunting fleets prepared to leave the station, Jake gathered his small crew for a final briefing. Unlike the aliens with their massive war fleets, the humans had brought only 5 ships, each one designed for long-range operations and extended missions. They looked tiny compared to the Zephyrian dreadnoughts, but they carried something more valuable than weapons: the patience of a species that had learned to outlast ice ages and continental drift. The hunt was about to begin, and the galaxy had no idea what it was about to witness. The Kepler Nebula stretched across space like a glowing wound in the darkness. Purple and blue gases swirled in massive clouds that could hide entire fleets, while electromagnetic storms created a constant background of interference that made sensors nearly useless. The combined hunting fleet emerged from hyperspace at the nebula's edge, their ships spreading out in predetermined formations. Commander Vextar's flagship, a massive dreadnought called the Bloodfang, took position at the center of the Zephyrian formation. Around it, dozens of smaller attack craft moved like a pack of metal wolves, their weapon systems already charging for the hunt ahead. The alien commander stood on his bridge, surrounded by tactical displays showing the nebula's interior and the faint energy signatures that might indicate their prey's location. All units, begin standard sweep pattern, Vextar ordered through the fleet communications. Use active scanning and maintain tight formation. The creature cannot hide from superior numbers and firepower. The Zephyrian ships plunged into the nebula with typical alien confidence, their engines burning bright as they accelerated toward the first sensor contact. Behind them, at what the aliens considered a safe distance, the 5 human ships followed at a much slower pace. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his vessel, the Terra Nova, watching the alien tactics with quiet interest. "They're moving too fast," Lieutenant Commander Alex Harper observed from his position at the tactical station. "The creature will detect them long before they get within weapons range." Chief Tactical Officer Ryan Brooks nodded as he monitored the Zephyrian communications. Their formation is designed for pack hunting on open ground, not stealth operations in a nebula. They're broadcasting their position to everything within 50 light minutes. The first contact came within an hour. Zephyrian sensors detected a massive object moving through the gas clouds ahead, and Vextar immediately ordered his ships to intercept. The alien vessels accelerated to attack speed, their weapon systems fully powered and targeting systems locked on the contact. The hunt had begun in earnest. What followed was a masterclass in how not to hunt an intelligent prey. The Void Stalker had indeed been where the sensors indicated, but by the time the Zephyrian ships arrived, it was already gone. The creature's natural stealth capabilities allowed it to bend light and energy around itself, making it nearly invisible, unless it chose to reveal its position. The aliens found themselves chasing shadows through the nebula, while their prey watched them from concealment. Dr. Lisa Campbell monitored the hunt from the Terra Nova's science station, her instruments tracking not just the creature's movements but its behavior patterns. Unlike the aliens who focused on immediate tactical concerns, she was building a psychological profile of their target. The data showed something interesting. The Void Stalker was playing with its hunters. revealing itself just long enough to draw them into pursuit before vanishing again. "It's learning," Lisa reported to Jake. "Every time the Zephyrians change their tactics, the creature adapts faster. It's studying them just as much as they're trying to hunt it." For 6 hours, the pattern continued. The aliens would detect the creature, rush to intercept it, and find nothing but empty space. Their frustration grew with each failed attempt, and their formations became more aggressive and less coordinated. Vextar's voice over the communications channels grew increasingly angry, as his perfect hunt turned into an embarrassing display of failure. Navigation Officer Katie Walsh tracked the creature's movements on her charts, noting the patterns that the aliens were missing in their eagerness for direct confrontation. "It's not random," she told Jake. "The Void Stalker is leading them in circles, wearing them down while staying well out of weapons range." The breaking point came when 3 Zephyrian attack craft, frustrated by the constant failures, broke formation and attempted to corner the creature in a narrow passage between gas clouds. The Void Stalker allowed them to approach, then struck with devastating speed. 2 of the ships were destroyed instantly, their hulls crushed by appendages that moved faster than their sensors could track. The 3rd ship barely escaped, its crew traumatized by their first real encounter with their prey. Vexitar's rage echoed across the communication channels as he ordered his remaining ships to fall back and regroup. The perfect hunt had become a disaster, with the creature proving superior to every tactic the Zephyrians could devise. The other alien observers, watching from their own ships, began to whisper among themselves about the possibility that the Void Stalker might be impossible to capture. "Captain Morrison," Vextar's voice came through on a direct channel, his tone mixing desperation with wounded pride. "Perhaps it is time for your species to demonstrate these superior hunting methods you spoke of." Jake looked around his bridge at his small crew, noting their calm expressions and ready postures. Unlike the aliens who had worked themselves into a frenzy of aggression, the humans showed no signs of excitement or bloodlust. They approached the hunt like any other job that needed to be done properly. "All ships implement Pursuit Protocol 7, Jake ordered over the human fleet channel. "Maintain minimum safe distance and prepare for extended operations. This might take a while." The change in human behavior was immediately apparent to the alien observers. Instead of charging toward the creature's last known position, the human ship spread out in a wide formation and began moving through the nebula at a fraction of the speed the Zephyrians had used. Their sensors remained passive, gathering information without announcing their presence. Engineering Chief Sam Rodriguez reported from the Terra Nova's engine room that all systems were operating at minimal power levels to reduce their detection signature. "We can maintain this configuration for weeks if necessary, Captain. The fusion reactors are barely working, and our heat signature is almost invisible." Communications specialist Tracy Evans monitored the creature's bioelectric emissions, tracking its stress levels and emotional state through the complex patterns of energy it unconsciously broadcast. Unlike the aliens who only cared about the creature's physical location, the humans were studying its mind. "Contact established," Tracy reported after 2 hours of patient tracking. "The creature is approximately 40,000 kilometers ahead, moving at low speed through the outer gas layers." The aliens expected the humans to accelerate toward the target, to finally show the aggressive hunting behavior that every galactic species considered normal. Instead, Jake ordered his ships to maintain their current speed and heading, staying well behind the creature while keeping it within sensor range. "What are they doing?" Admiral Krextos demanded over the communication channel. "The creature is right there. Why are they not attacking?" Dr. Campbell answered the question with scientific precision. "Because attacking is not the objective. Capturing is the objective, and you cannot capture something that can outrun and outmaneuver you in direct confrontation." The human ships continued their slow, methodical pursuit, never approaching close enough to threaten the creature but never falling far enough behind to lose contact. The Void Stalker, accustomed to the aggressive tactics of galactic hunters, seemed confused by this new approach. It would accelerate away from the human ships, then slow down when they failed to pursue aggressively. Hours passed with no dramatic chases or weapons fire. The alien observers grew restless, complaining that the humans were wasting time with ineffective tactics. But Chief Medical Officer Dr. Ben Tucker was monitoring something the aliens had never considered. The creature's vital signs were changing. Stress hormones are increasing, Ben reported to Jake. The creature is becoming agitated even though we haven't threatened it directly. Jake nodded, understanding the psychological principles at work. It expected us to behave like every other hunter it has encountered. When we don't follow the pattern, it doesn't know how to respond. The hunt continued through the night cycle, with the human ships maintaining their steady, relentless pursuit while the creature grew increasingly confused by their behavior. The second day of pursuit began with the Void Stalker making its first critical error. The creature that had spent the previous day trying to escape through open space suddenly changed course toward a dense asteroid field at the nebula's center. To the alien observers, this seemed like a tactical improvement, a return to the intelligent behavior that had made the creature so difficult to catch. But Dr. Lisa Campbell recognized it for what it really was, the desperate action of a mind pushed beyond its breaking point. It's seeking shelter. Lisa explained to the gathered alien representatives who were monitoring the hunt from their respective ships. The constant psychological pressure has triggered a basic survival instinct to find a safe place to hide. The asteroid field was a maze of spinning rock and metal, the remnants of an ancient planet torn apart by gravitational forces. The gravitational anomalies and electromagnetic interference from the metallic asteroids would make scanning nearly impossible, creating the perfect hiding place for a creature that needed time to recover from the stress of constant pursuit. Commander Vextar saw the creature's move as an opportunity to salvage some honor from the failed hunt. "Now we have it trapped," he declared over the fleet communications. "The humans have driven it into a confined space where superior firepower and numbers will decide the outcome." But Captain Jake Morrison had no intention of following the creature into the asteroid field. Instead, he ordered his 5 ships to take positions around the field's perimeter, establishing a blockade that covered every possible exit point. The human formation was mathematically precise, with overlapping sensor coverage that left no gaps for the creature to exploit. Engineering Chief Sam Rodriguez ran the calculations on his navigation computer, confirming what the human crews already knew through instinct and training. "Complete coverage established, Captain. The creature cannot leave the asteroid field without passing through at least 2 overlapping sensor zones." The alien observers were baffled by the human tactics. Every galactic hunting tradition called for immediate pursuit when prey went to ground. The idea of simply waiting outside while the quarry remained hidden went against every predatory instinct that had evolved across dozens of worlds. "Why are you not attacking?" Admiral Krextos demanded. "The creature is cornered. This is the moment to strike with overwhelming force." Lieutenant Commander Alex Harper answered with the calm logic that characterized human tactical thinking. "Because it's not cornered, Admiral. It's hiding. There's a difference. A cornered animal fights with desperation. A hiding animal eventually has to come out." The hours passed with agonizing slowness for the alien hunters, who were accustomed to quick resolution of their hunts. But the humans remained at their stations with the patience of a species that had learned to think in geological timescales. Their ships maintained perfect position despite the complex gravitational forces of the asteroid field, their crews rotating in shifts to ensure constant alertness. Chief Tactical Officer Ryan Brooks monitored the gravitational sensors that could detect large masses moving within the asteroid field. The data showed the creature moving restlessly through the maze of rocks, searching for an exit that didn't exist. Each time it approached the field's edge, the sensors of the human ships tracked its movement, and it retreated back into the depths. Communications specialist Tracy Evans was picking up the creature's bioelectric emissions even through the interference of the asteroid field. The pattern showed a mind in complete breakdown, cycling between rage, fear, and something that could only be described as despair. The translation software was having difficulty processing signals that had no equivalent in any galactic language database. "The creature is broadcasting continuously now," Tracy reported. "The signals are becoming increasingly incoherent, but the basic pattern seems to be requests for the pursuit to end." Dr. Ben Tucker was monitoring the creature's vital signs through the long-range medical scanners, tracking a physiology that was shutting down under unbearable stress. "Neurological activity is becoming erratic," he warned. "The creature's brain is entering a state similar to a human nervous breakdown." The alien observers were beginning to understand that they were witnessing something unprecedented in galactic history. No species had ever broken the mind of a void stalker. The creatures were considered to be among the most intelligent and adaptable predators in known space, capable of learning and adapting to any threat. Yet the humans had reduced one to a mental wreck without firing a single shot. Navigation Officer Katie Walsh tracked the creature's movements within the asteroid field, noting how its path had changed from purposeful exploration to random wandering. "It's no longer trying to find an exit," she observed. "The movement patterns suggest it's given up hope of escape." The psychological warfare was entering its final phase. The creature had exhausted every survival strategy in its genetic memory, from stealth to speed to intelligence, and none of them had worked against the relentless human pursuit. For the first time in its evolutionary history, it was experiencing something that its species had never encountered: the knowledge that escape was impossible. Commander Vextar was pacing his bridge like a caged animal, his predatory instincts frustrated by the humans' refusal to follow normal hunting protocols. "This is torture, not hunting," he declared. No honorable predator would break their prey's mind before claiming the kill. Jake's response came back immediately, delivered in the same calm tone that had marked every human communication during the hunt. "Commander, we're not trying to kill the creature. We're trying to capture it alive. Dead, it's just another trophy. Alive, it can be studied and potentially relocated to a region where it won't threaten shipping." The concept of hunting for purposes other than killing was another shock to the alien observers. Their understanding of predation was based on dominance and consumption, not capture and study. The humans were demonstrating a completely different relationship with their prey, one that valued the creature's life even while ensuring its defeat. Hours passed in the strange standoff, with the creature hiding in the asteroid field while the human ships maintained their perfect blockade. The alien hunters grew increasingly restless, but the humans showed no signs of impatience. They had committed to the hunt, and they would see it through to its conclusion regardless of how long it took. The breaking point came without warning. The creature suddenly appeared at the edge of the asteroid field, its massive form clearly visible against the glowing gases of the nebula. But instead of attempting to break through the human blockade, it simply stopped. The void stalker that had terrorized shipping lanes across 3 sectors was floating motionless in space, its weapon systems offline, and its stealth field completely disabled. Dr. Campbell's instruments registered something that had never been recorded in xenobiological history: the voluntary surrender of an apex predator. The creature was broadcasting submission signals on every frequency, its massive body trembling with exhaustion and defeat. "It's over," Lisa announced to the stunned alien observers. "The creature has surrendered completely. It's offering no resistance to capture." The galaxy's most feared predator had been broken not by superior firepower or advanced technology, but by the simple human understanding that everything, eventually, gets tired of running. 12 hours had passed since the human ships began their strange pursuit, and the difference in the creature's behavior was becoming impossible to ignore. The void stalker that had effortlessly evaded the aggressive Zephyrian fleet was now moving erratically through the nebula, its once perfect stealth field flickering like a broken light. The constant presence of the human ships, always following but never attacking, was having an effect that no alien hunter had ever achieved. Commander Vextar stood on his bridge, staring at the tactical displays with growing unease. His species had evolved as ambush predators, creatures that struck fast and hard before their prey could escape. The concept of a hunt that lasted longer than a few hours was completely foreign to his understanding of how predators operated. Yet the humans continued their slow, methodical pursuit with mechanical precision. "This is not hunting," Vextar muttered to his tactical officer. "This is something else entirely." Dr. Lisa Campbell was documenting everything from her position on the Terra Nova, her scientific instruments recording data that would revolutionize the galactic understanding of predator-prey relationships. The bioelectric patterns emanating from the void stalker showed stress levels unlike anything in the xenobiological databases. The creature was experiencing something its species had never evolved to handle. "Captain, the creature's neural activity is showing signs of chronic stress response," Lisa reported to Jake. "Its fight or flight mechanisms are being constantly triggered, but it can't fight an enemy that won't engage, and it can't flee from pursuers that never give up." Navigation Officer Katie Walsh tracked the creature's movements on her charts, noting how its path had changed from the confident, purposeful swimming of an apex predator to the desperate wandering of something that no longer understood its environment. "It's making navigation errors," she observed. "The stress is affecting its ability to navigate through the nebula." The alien observers were becoming increasingly disturbed by what they were witnessing. Admiral Krextos had seen many hunts in his long career, but never anything like this. The humans weren't using superior firepower or advanced technology. They were using something far more primitive and terrifying, the simple fact that they would not stop. "How long do you intend to continue this?" Admiral Krextos asked Jake over the communication channel. "Your prey is still free, still capable of escape. By our standards, you have already failed." Jake's response was delivered in a calm, measured tone that somehow made it more frightening than any aggressive boast. "Admiral, your standards assume that a hunt should end quickly. Our standards assume that a hunt ends when the prey surrenders or dies. We're prepared to continue for as long as necessary." Lieutenant Commander Alex Harper was monitoring the creature's tactical responses, noting how its defensive patterns were breaking down under the constant psychological pressure. "It keeps trying to use the same evasion techniques that worked against the Zephyrians," he reported. "But those techniques were designed for short-term encounters. The creature doesn't have any strategies for dealing with long-term pursuit." The truth was becoming clear to the alien observers, and it horrified them. The humans weren't hunting the Void Stalker's body. They were hunting its mind. Every hour that passed without direct confrontation was another hour of psychological warfare that the creature had no defense against. Its nervous system, evolved to handle brief periods of extreme stress, was being pushed beyond its biological limits. Chief Tactical Officer Ryan Brooks explained the human strategy to the increasingly nervous alien delegation. "Most galactic hunters rely on physical superiority or technological advantages. Humans evolved differently. We survived by being the hunters that never went away." The concept was alien to every species in the galactic community. Their hunting instincts were based on dominance displays, territorial confrontations, and brief periods of intense violence. The idea of wearing down prey through relentless pursuit over extended periods was something their minds couldn't fully grasp. Communications. Specialist Tracy Evans intercepted the creature's distress signals, complex bioelectric patterns that her translation software was struggling to interpret. When the translation finally came through, the alien observers fell silent. The signals were approximately equivalent to pleas for mercy, requests for the pursuit to end, offers of submission. "It's trying to surrender," Tracy reported with professional detachment. "The creature is broadcasting submission signals on multiple frequencies." Dr. Ben Tucker was monitoring the creature's medical condition through long-range sensors, tracking vital signs that showed a body under extreme duress. "Stress hormone levels are approaching toxic ranges," he warned. If this continues much longer, the creature might suffer permanent neurological damage. The alien hunters were beginning to understand what they were witnessing, and the realization filled them with a fear they had never experienced before. The humans had turned hunting into something that transcended physical confrontation. They had weaponized time itself, using patience and persistence as tools of psychological warfare. Engineering Chief Sam Rodriguez reported that the human ships were operating well within normal parameters. Their crews rested and alert despite the extended operation. "We can maintain this pursuit for weeks if necessary," he told Jake. "Our ships were designed for long-range exploration missions. Extended operations are what we do best." The contrast with the alien hunters was stark. The Zephyrians were already showing signs of fatigue and frustration, their aggressive natures poorly suited for the patient work of persistence hunting. Their ships were designed for short, violent encounters, not the methodical endurance that the humans were demonstrating. "This is not natural," Vexitar declared over the communication channel, his voice carrying a note of genuine fear. "No species hunts like this. It is wrong." Jake's response was delivered with the same calm confidence that had marked every human action during the hunt. "Commander, just because something is different doesn't make it wrong. Our ancestors survived ice ages and continental drift by being patient. We learned to outlast our problems instead of trying to overpower them." The creature's movements were becoming increasingly erratic as its mental state deteriorated under the constant pressure. Its stealth field fluctuated wildly, sometimes revealing its full outline against the nebula's glowing gases. The perfect killing machine that had terrorized trade routes for months was breaking. Down under a form of warfare it had never encountered, Dr. Campbell was documenting The psychological breakdown with scientific fascination and human compassion. The creature's brain chemistry is entering a state similar to what humans would call despair, she explained to the horrified aliens. It has realized that its traditional survival strategies are ineffective against this type of pursuit. The galaxy's greatest predator was learning what it meant to be prey, and the lesson was destroying its sanity. The humans continued their relentless pursuit, patient as glaciers, persistent as the tide, inevitable as entropy itself. The Void Stalker floated in space like a broken giant, its massive form trembling with exhaustion and psychological defeat. Captain Jake Morrison ordered the deployment of containment fields rather than weapons, and the creature offered no resistance as the energy barriers surrounded it. For the first time in galactic history, a Void Stalker had been captured alive, and the method of its capture would change how every species in the galaxy viewed humanity. Commander Vextar stood on his bridge in stunned silence, watching as the human ships moved with practiced efficiency to secure their prize. The creature that had destroyed entire Zephyrian hunting fleets was now as docile as a sleeping pet, its fighting spirit completely broken by 2 days of relentless pursuit. The alien commander's worldview, built on millions of years of evolutionary programming, was crumbling as he tried to process what he had witnessed. "This is impossible," Vextar whispered to his tactical officer. "No prey surrenders to a predator. They fight to the death or escape. They do not simply give up." Dr. Lisa Campbell was already conducting preliminary scans of the captured creature, her instruments revealing a physiology pushed to its absolute limits. The Void Stalker's nervous system showed signs of severe stress damage, its brain chemistry altered in ways that would take months to fully understand. The creature had experienced something that evolution had never prepared it for, the knowledge that escape was impossible. The alien observers gathered virtually for an emergency council session, their representatives appearing as holograms in the communication chamber of Admiral Krextos's flagship. The images flickered with static from the nebula's interference, but the fear in their expressions was clearly visible. They had all witnessed the same thing, and none of them understood how to process it. "The humans have demonstrated capabilities that fall outside our understanding of natural predation," Admiral Krextos announced to the assembled representatives. "We must determine how this affects our relationship with their species." Lieutenant Commander Alex Harper participated in the council session as the human representative, his calm demeanor contrasting sharply with the agitated aliens around him. When asked to explain the human hunting methods, his response was delivered with scientific precision. "What you witnessed was persistence hunting," Alex explained. "It's a strategy that evolved on Earth when our ancestors lacked the physical tools to overpower large prey. Instead of trying to be faster or stronger, we learned to be more patient. We would follow animals for days or weeks until exhaustion forced them to surrender. The concept was horrifying to species that had evolved as either ambush predators or pack hunters. The idea of hunting something for weeks, of slowly wearing down its will to live, struck them as a form of warfare that transcended the natural order. They were beginning to understand that humans didn't just hunt animals. They hunted the concept of hope itself. Communications specialist Tracy Evans was documenting the creature's final surrender signals for the xenobiological archives. The patterns showed a complete psychological breakdown, a mind that had been systematically stripped of every survival instinct through the simple application of time and patience. The translation software could barely process emotions that had no equivalent in galactic languages. Chief Tactical Officer Ryan Brooks was already preparing his official report on the operation, a document that would be classified at the highest levels by every major galactic government. His tactical analysis concluded that human persistence hunting represented a completely new category of warfare, one that attacked the enemy's morale rather than their physical capabilities. "The implications go beyond simple hunting," Ryan noted in his preliminary findings. "Any species that can break the will of a Void Stalker through psychological pressure alone represents a strategic threat that current galactic military doctrine cannot address." The alien governments were already beginning to understand the broader implications of what they had witnessed. If humans could reduce the galaxy's apex predator to a surrendering wreck through nothing more than patient pursuit, what did that mean for interstellar politics? How do you negotiate with a species that treats time itself as a weapon? Engineering Chief Sam Rodriguez was overseeing the transport preparations for their captured prize. his teams working with the efficiency that had marked the entire operation. The human ships had been designed for exactly this type of long-range mission, and their crews had trained for scenarios that other species couldn't even imagine. "Transport containment is secure," Sam reported to Jake. "The creature is stable and showing no signs of resistance. Estimated time to the research facility is 48 hours at standard cruise speed." Dr. Ben Tucker was monitoring the creature's medical condition during transport, ensuring that the psychological damage didn't translate into physical harm. His readings showed a physiology that was slowly stabilizing now that the pursuit had ended, but the neurological changes appeared to be permanent. The galactic response to the successful hunt was swift and decisive. Within hours of the operation's conclusion, emergency sessions were being held in government chambers across dozens of worlds. The humans had demonstrated a capability that challenged the fundamental assumptions about how intelligent species interacted with each other. Commander Vextar's official report to the Zephyrian High Command was marked with the highest security classifications. His description of human hunting methods as psychological warfare against prey animals sparked immediate debates about whether humanity should be reclassified as a potential threat to galactic stability. "They do not hunt like predators," Vextar wrote in his conclusion. "They hunt like forces of nature. You cannot negotiate with a glacier or reason with entropy. The humans have weaponized inevitability itself." The scientific community was equally disturbed by the implications of Dr. Campbell's research data. Her analysis of the creature's psychological breakdown revealed that humans had essentially hacked the basic survival instincts that all intelligent life shared. The ability to systematically destroy hope was something that no species had ever developed as a hunting strategy. Navigation Officer Katie Walsh was already plotting courses for the human fleet's return to Earth, but she knew that the galaxy they were returning to would be fundamentally changed by what had happened in the Kepler Nebula. Humanity had revealed something about themselves that couldn't be hidden or ignored. Within weeks of the hunt's conclusion, trade agreements with Earth were being quietly renegotiated by every major galactic power. The official reason given was concern for prey animal welfare, but the real motivation was fear. The galaxy had finally understood what human endurance really meant when applied as a weapon. The Galactic Council formally requested that humans be prohibited from participating in extended pursuit operations involving intelligent creatures. The request was phrased as a protective measure for potential prey species, but everyone understood it as an attempt to limit humanity's most terrifying capability. Captain Jake Morrison's final log entry from the mission became one of the most analyzed documents in galactic intelligence history. His casual notation that the crew should bring more coffee for extended hunts was translated into dozens of languages, each translation carrying the same underlying message. The humans had treated the psychological destruction of an apex predator as routine work that required better beverage planning. The galaxy had learned something about humanity that would influence interstellar relations for generations to come. Humans weren't the strongest species or the fastest or the most technologically advanced, but they were the species that would never stop coming, and that made them the most terrifying hunters the galaxy had ever encountered. In the depths of space, the captured Voidstalker was transported to a research facility where scientists would spend years trying to understand the psychological damage that 48 hours of human patience had inflicted. The creature would never hunt again, not because it couldn't, but because it had learned what it meant to be truly hunted by something. That time itself couldn't stop. The galaxy would never again underestimate the species that had learned to hunt with calendars instead of claws.